This is going to be an very expensive repair. This is a '03 BMW M3, I believe it is. 2.2 liter engine, multiple problems in this car. Owner replaced a whole bunch of stuff, never could get it figured out. Plugs, plugs, coils, oxygen sensors, cam and crankshaft sensors, and I have diagnosed a bad computer because the DME would not energize cylinder number 4, and it was stuck in the injector shutdown mode. It would not energize whatsoever. Told the guy to send it for repair. They had sent the computer back. I'm not going to mention the company, but no matter. Sent the computer back saying that everything's fine, there's nothing wrong with it. I told the guy this is not the circuitry issue, this is a problem with a internal memory in this DME or power control module, because it was just stuck in the deactivation mode on the number 4. The code wise it had like a injector random misfire, the number 2 misfire, number 4 misfire, and I've told the guy, I said this thing is stuck on deactivation mode. I would disconnect the pump and crank the engine over, and I never had a control on number 4 injector. I had a good control on a coil, but not injector. And then checked the power, checked the grounds, did all that, checked the camshaft position sensor, crankshaft position sensor, checked the my connectors at the computer, make sure there's no issue that there could be a sprung or something. The one of the connectors, everything checked out okay. Computer came back, and we put it back in, cranked the engine over. The battery was kind of low. We jumped the cables, cranked it again, and it got Hydrolock. Now, interesting enough is that he told me that in order to try to solve the number 4 misfire, he did replace the injector with a new injector, and got hydrolocked. And I was like, well, that's really odd. I mean, I have never seen why would get hydrolocked. And then he took injector out, put the old injector back in, and then since I was able to diagnose the problem with the control, injector control on number 4, I asked him, I said, do you have an old injector? He was like, I already put it all back in, and I checked the resistance. It was 15 ohms. I was worried, of course, that short injector is going to fry the computer, but that wasn't the case. I'm not sure what else I'm going to forget about this thing, but it was kind of really interesting. Anyhow, the something else was going on. This number 2, the computer will shut down injector number 2 every time after the wide open throttle. Every time you do snap throttle, this disables number 2, detects the misfire right after the wide open throttle, which is kind of odd, and it would never fire this injector back on until you turn the key back on, shut it off, turn the key back on and off, and then it would do it again. So long story short, we got the DME back and got it hydrolocked, and then we pulled the plugs, and we had a flooded number 2 and number 3. And I said, well, that doesn't make any sense, because now my injectors were okay on these 2 cylinders. They were not spraying, they were not wide open, they're not stuck open or anything like that. And then I started checking electrically, and sure enough, at this point we have a shorted control circuit on injector on number 2 and number 3 cylinder now. And so we can see I have my test light. Here's the control wire, and I got my test light connected to battery positive, and the key is in on position, and it lit up like a Christmas tree right there. Current, we got 6.7 amps. The same thing is on a this one. You see, it lit up, and now this one is fine. See, I'm not sure how this company could say the computer is okay. It's kind of odd because I have not had this problem until I got the computer back. So I told the guy that the only way that he could have a flooded cylinder number 4 is that this computer was actually energized the injector wide open for some reason. And so anyhow, now when you're dealing with this, you can simply disconnect the computer, and if the light goes out, you know it's shorted a computer. Now of course at this point, so this is a ground side switch circuit, meaning that the power is constantly applied, and the DME provides a ground to energize injector. Now we need to figure out, of course, now if you wouldn't know, what is shorted. Do we have a shorted control wire, or is it a shorted computer? At this point you can just unplug the computer, and if the lights goes out, you're okay. Something else we can do, and I can see I have my M clamp here. I have a half an amp of current, which of course shouldn't be there. And so now I'm just going to find this brown and yellow wire right at the DME, and when I place my current clamp at the DME at that point of the circuit, if I still have a current going through that circuit, that means our computer is shorted. If I don't, then our control wire is shorted somewhere. And I'm at the brown and yellow wire. This is a control wire for number 3, and we can see we have a current. Now the current is varies a little bit. Maybe the battery is actually I'm sure the headlights are on the batteries, but anyhow, you can see the current here we should not have. This is indication that you have a bad computer. Of course you want to check powers and grounds, which most likely, I mean I already checked that before, but that's not going to cause a short on your computer. Powers and grounds, it's not going to do it, because if other circuits are fine, the powers and grounds will not cause that issue. And so you just kind of check the rest of your wire, make sure it's nothing touching the the metal or something to get a ground. Of course we can visually see that it's going into the computer, and sure enough we have this point again. Bad computer. I told the guy to I'm not sure what he's going to do. He's going to tow the truck. He's going to tow this car away today, and it is what it is. Now here's the control wire for number 2. It's a brown and red. We can see you're reading the current, meaning the DME is shorted, and there's the brown and red control wire. So that's why it goes all the way around into the computer. And, one more thing before I finish. Now if you diagnose the shorted DME or power control module, whether it's an injectors, coils, purge valve, whatever it is, before you install new computer, you have to check resistance on your components to make sure they're not shorted, because if you have a shorted injector and then you plug in your new DME, you're gonna fry the DME again. Now this is a completely different issue. This is something internal in this computer doesn't work well, and doesn't work the way it's supposed to, and it just turns that MOSFET on and energize the injectors, and as soon as you turn the key on, you activate the fuel pump, and then a fuel starts flowing into the cylinder, and you basically flood your cylinders. So I just want, because I didn't show it in my video because I know that they're okay, but I'm going to show you guys my waveform that I captured on this car before. So I did not have to do that, but they are like a 15 ohms on each injector. But I'll show you the waveform that I had captured before I initially sent this DME to be checked out. So here's my waveform. Unfortunately I did not capture the waveform during cranking. This is a running, and of course we're gonna see a injector number 4. The current is missing, and that can be a normal operation of the DME or power control module. When detects the misfire, it will disconnect the energized injector because of the misfire. However, this computer, as I said, it would never energize this injector, period. I had tried everything I could possibly do. I would clear the codes, I would disconnect the battery, I would disconnect the fuel pump, I would just crank the engine over trying to get the injector to work. I never could. Of course I checked my control wire, it's fine. checked the powers and grounds on my PCM, that was fine. Checked did the drag down test on my connector, that was okay. And I even disconnect the battery and shorten the positive and negative cable with the test light to clear the memory. I left it for like 30 minutes. That didn't work. So anyhow, I could never get this injector to work. This circuit never worked. And as I said, when it comes to the trouble codes, random misfire, number 2 and number 4 injector, number 2 and number 4 cylinder misfire. And just zoom it in. And then my last test was to confirm that my cam and crankshaft sensor and my we got an intake and exhaust cam and a crankshaft sensor. I wanted to make sure that I'm not losing anything, on any of those signals. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned that the computer did control a coil on a cylinder number 4, and so red trace is going to be my current from all injectors, and this is of course 6-cylinder, and we can see we're missing one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 current, and 1 is missing. And so that's I did not sync anything. I didn't need to. I mean, I knew that was number 4. You can see here when injector opens, and each injector pulls around 1 amp of current. This one is a little bit high, this one is a little bit lower, but you can see they're all opening. When I drop down my cursor, it's around 100 millivolts, basically 1 amp. And this one is a little bit higher, 1.1, but it's not. And there's one a little bit lower, 94.9 amps. But my point is, I gotta control. Everything is fine. So anyhow, I don't remember right now. Okay, so I think that my blue and my green trace are my cam and my intake and exhaust cam. No, I'm sorry. My blue and green are my cam, and brown is a crankshaft sensor. And this whole time, my sensors are fine. The owner did actually replace these sensors as well, to try to get, I think actually the blue and green are actually cams and the brown is crank, yeah. And so he had replaced all these sensors, nothing worked. And you can kind of see here where the injector is supposed to fire. There's a little bit of something going on the sensors as well. It's kind of noisy right there, but again, and that's when I called in a bad DME, and we sent it for repair. And now I have 2 of these injectors shorted. Basically, my DME somehow shortened up number 2 and number 3 injectors. But you can see that I did have a control 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I did have a control on 5 injectors, but not on number 4. But when I got the computer back, now I have a shorted circuits on 2 and 3. I mean, this just doesn't make any sense anymore. But and there's something interesting here, where every time I do a wide open throttle, it will shut off. It will shut off the number 2 injector, and it will never fire it back up. So right in this area here is a wide open throttle, and this would happen every single time, and it would kind of flag the code for a bad. You can see right here when the cylinder shutdown is deceleration. You can see you got a 1, 2, 3, 4, and right up when it decelerate, and once the fires injectors again, the number 2 we're gonna go down to 4. You can see that 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number 2 will be de-energized, and this number 2 will not energize back again until I shut the key off and turn it back on. But let's see, I'm sorry. You can see there. So this was, I mean, what I didn't understand, why the computer shuts off number 2 every single time right after the wide open throttle. I can't think that computer could detect a misfire at a wide open throttle. It just doesn't make sense. But this would happen each and every time, and why every time after the wide open throttle, and I just don't get it. But now we have another issue. Now, however, there's one time that actually computer did energize the all of the injectors. I was right around here somewhere, I believe. I have to kind of look. I'm just gonna move all these so they're not in the way right now, and I'll show you guys. There's only one time when the computer actually did fire the injector number 4, and it should be right in here somewhere. Let me go back. There was only one event where I have to look. Right here. Right here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So computer did energize injector number 4 right before the wide open throttle. I have done 3 or 4 wide open throttle event, captures, and it never happened again. This is only one time when a computer did it, and that was kind of odd. However, when you look at the time when it did it, it's actually a little bit, so to speak, retarded. It's a little bit later than what should be. I'm going to put my cursors between these guys here, and clearly we'll see that. Anyhow, I mean, this is just really kind of screwed up, but you see right here and right on top of it, and this one is literally, but right there, see how much is after when it should be, and that was the only time that I could get this injector, to fire. But again, everything is fine. The cam and crankshaft sensors are okay, no dropouts, no problems at all, and but this computer just did not work, and after we got it back, it got screwed up again, and now it's completely gone. I mean, I don't understand. I don't know, something internally doesn't work right. There's a memory, or maybe they even sent the wrong computer or something. I have no idea, because at this point I really could not check anything else if I have a control on other injectors, because the engine was get flooded like in a second basically. As soon as you turn the key on, you got wide, you crank a couple of times, you got 2 and 3 injector wide open, and then it floods the cylinder, and I say, you know what, I don't want to do anything else. We can damage the engine, we can bend the connecting rod and do all kinds of crap to the engine. So I said, well, this is not going to work. And but this is kind of interesting. This kind of really odd. I have never seen anything like it. Again, guys, please don't think that this was a intentional shutdown. I could never get this injector to fire, period. So I got the message from the owner. He took the original DME again to be checked out, and they still said that nothing's wrong with it. I don't know what the deal is, and he told him that he wants another computer, so they will try to write in the VIN number and all that, but it's going to be a plug and play that I really don't know. I'm concerned that it may not work the way we're hoping it's going to work. And so anyhow, this is kind of something I've never seen before. Again, I keep repeating myself, but I have checked out everything there is to be checked on this computer, from powers and grounds, cam and crankshaft sensor signals, disconnected the battery, resetting the codes, did everything I could possibly think of to get this injector to fire. I have done a drag down test on the connector. That was okay. I have of course checked my wiring, my control wire. It's fine. And anyhow, never could get it to work, and now we're dealing with another problem. Again, I mentioned that he had, in order to fix this number 4 cylinder misfire, he put new coils and wires. Sorry, new coils and spark plugs, replace the camshaft sensors, and then replace the injector. And he said when he put the new injector in, the cylinder got flooded, and I was like, well, that is really odd, because it's most, you know, it just doesn't make sense. Why would a new injector be wide open? It seems like this computer just, you know, did the same thing what it's doing right now with number 2 and 3. It just goes stupid and turns the injectors on. And after he put original injector back in, that didn't happen anymore on number 4, but it never fired at number 4 anymore. So I don't know, really strange behavior on this DME. I can't explain what it is, but I did tell the guy, now at this point we are dealing with 100% injector number 2 and number 3 control wire. The control is shorted to ground, and the ground is coming from computer, from the DME. And taking a current clamp, putting on your control wire right at the computer. If the current at that point of the circuit, if you have a current at that point in a circuit, there is no ifs. If you have a shorted control wire, it is your ground is coming from the computer. The period. There's nothing. There's nothing else. You don't have to look for short to ground on your control wire. If you have a current right on the control wire, right at the PCM, your PCM is shorted, period. And alright guys, well, I hope it's going to be a part 2 on this one. If he gets on a DME, we'll see what happens, but so far we have to wait. Thank you. Bye bye.